Welcome to Cannabis School. I'm your host, Jesse Angeles.
And I'm Brandon Elder.
And we're here to talk to you about everything pertaining to cannabis, from vape,
flower,
edibles,
strains,
and everything in between.
Howdy ho, neighborino.
Hey. So today,
we're just chatting about legalities of cannabis around the world, globally.
Yeah.
And where it's not illegal, like where it's been legal, where it's not legal, and kind of like certain areas you maybe just want to stay away from if you are using cannabis, or if you are there and you do use cannabis, shoot us a message.
Yeah,
We would love to hear how you stay safe.
Yeah, it's it's kind of funny how when you look at the entire world, you have some real kind of easy assumptions that it's just legal there. Like what I was talking to you about before we got started, one of the funniest ones that I saw in there, or the strangest ones, was Jamaica. Jamaica, It's still criminalized, but it's not. It's you have to have it in small use. Like it's like 2 ounces that you can have on your person,
but more for religious, like Rastafarian,
for Rastafarian
purposes or other religious purposes.
But dude, all growing up, I always thought Bob Marley, you get high, but he was a Rastafarian, so yeah, he could smoke it because it was part of his religion. And it's just strange. Even the Netherlands, dude, where those who are listening, we do have people from the Netherlands listen to us. Learning that it's just coffee shops like in Amsterdam.
There's a handful of places that are like decriminalized. So it's illegal but decriminalized, or there's like a lot that it's illegal, or only a handful that it's illegal but unenforced.
Yeah.
Most of it, it's just like it's illegal.
What was the one that? That's a great.
But we do have a lot for like illegal, or it's legal for adult use, which is a lot of the U.S. We do have some in like South Africa, a country in Europe. But then we have legal for medical use, which is like Australia. Australia is medical for, it's legal for medical use.
Yeah.
Same with almost all of South America. Almost every country in South America is legal for medical use. And then we just have a handful of countries peppered throughout Europe that are also allowed for medical use. But most of them are like, there's a bunch that are decriminalized.
Yeah, decriminalized. I think a lot of it is like, one of the things that I had read about it is that you'll find, what was one I saw? Like in Spain, like it's illegal but decriminalized. It can't be publicly used.
But you could grow it at home.
But you can grow it at home, and members can freely, you can give out cannabis social clubs.
Oh,
so
cool.
Kind of going like what Netherlands had. And honestly, I wish
Canada has those as well.
Yeah, Canada's weird too, though, because
they do have unique cannabis laws, I've heard.
For their THC, it's pretty open, but CBD, totally different. It's a lot more strict on their CBD laws. And so that makes me wonder, like, what's going on
for
there?
Our Canadian listeners, what do you guys like? Do you use much CBD, or is it been because there's more restrictions there maybe around it? Is that bad? Is there a reason that you don't use it?
Oh, so here's something that it says. So both THC and CBD cannabis products are heavily regulated in Canada. I like that.
I do too.
I like that, including their marketing and advertisements. For example, Canada does not permit celebrity endorsements of CBD products, and marketing cannot make CBD look cool.
Why CBD? That's interesting that it's specifically in that, like that it states CBD.
Right.
And celebrities for CBD. Like, why is it that they look at that and go, we don't want this to be pushed or marketed in, XYZ avenues? CBD isn't like, why would taking that
as opposed to THC
not be cool? Like, why would they want that to not become cool?
I have no clue. And that actually gives me hope for Canadian companies that listen to our podcast. Hit us up. Let's figure out a way where we can help advertise your CBD products as well as your THC products. That's a unique thing, right? But that goes to show that the war on drugs that's been going on for well past, it's earlier than the 80s.
It's about 100 years almost.
Yeah. It's gone on for a real long time because of we're seeing more decriminalizing or more medical use being propagated here in the United States. It's over 30 states.
Yeah, I think you'd said 34.
Yeah, around 34 states have
at least
cannabis use.
medical.
Yeah. Well, all medical, but there's 24 states that are recreational
or adult use.
And that's a good point. We were talking about that. I think one of the reasons why some of these bills get struck down is the way that it's being shown. If you're saying recreational use, what does that sound like?
It's outgoing. Well, if you're doing recreational things, you're going out and just having fun. So if you're using it for just having fun, well, they're thinking of, well, this is just for fun, not adult use, like tobacco or alcohol. All of these products, which we have automatically deemed as adult use, you have to have this specific age requirement to even utilize this. So it's like when I look at it and go, okay, well, it's cool because we have this adult label on it going, hey, you have to be this age anyway. But why don't we label it as adult use? We're not going, hey, we're recreationally drinking alcohol. No, we're just drinking alcohol.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like it really... It creates a bad name for it. I mean, you can do that through almost anything, but the recreational tag really, and it doesn't, and it's not done intentionally. It makes it very, it just gives a bad connotation with it. It just sounds like I'm going to do bad things. Now, we are using today on this episode, we are partaking
one of Jesse's favorites.
Yeah, Pineapple Express. This is one of Utah's very own grown. It's from Betty. And Wellness. It's really good. I had a couple hits, oddly enough, too. And we've got something that we want to share with you kids. We have... It's going to show one of them right now.
All sorts of flavors.
Flint mints. You guys probably seen these advertised on like Facebook, Instagram. Cool company.
Dry mouth sucks. Flint's mints make your mouth water.
It's
How's
pretty
your
cool.
mouth, bro?
Well, I chewed it up and I swallowed. Here's the weird thing. It kind of hurt my stomach.
Interesting.
And the only reason why I think that is because, as I say, but it's vegan, sugar-free, non-GMO. So... One of the really cool things that we saw was that they have like kind of like a weird dosing, like 100, 150, 200, it goes up to 300.
The strength, yeah.
The strength.
And they don't clarify on them what the strength is.
What's the mint at?
200, I think.
200. So the required dosage they talked about was like 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I don't need 3. I mean, unless I got super bad dry mouth. Now, I'm going to smoke more of this. Oh, man, this is great. This is a really good grow. Holy cow.
So I had done a little bit of super lemon haze this morning as I was like getting the studio ready. And this has been a really nice change. Like it's pulled up into my head. I feel it tingling in my face.
Mm-hmm. It's gotten rid of the nausea that I had a little bit. It could be like, I've changed a lot in my diet and things like that with my diabetes. So it probably just because I don't normally have a ton of carbs in my stomach right now in the morning. So that could have caused a little bit of upset stomach. But here's this cool thing, guys. Look at that. Like you've got this cool little, it just one mint comes out at a time. And, we tried another product. You guys have heard about it. Lubricity.
Oh, yeah.
And it's okay. It's not bad. But I got to tell you, when I saw this, I was like, that sounds cool. Now, one of the funny things about it, I told Brandon about it. I'm like, the way it's being advertised.
Just looks like dick sucking mints.
Yeah, exactly. Like these girls who put it in their mouth and then they go, nah, and then just drooling. I'm like, hey, that is cool. Like props, especially for those who like to give. Great. But also.
Sharings for Karen.
But you know what? Everybody who's listening to this podcast, like I was just like, man, wouldn't it be cool to try something like this? Great thing about it, tastes great.
Oh yeah. I just did the sour tangerine.
How is it?
And one of those, I feel like I had pretty cottony mouth from coffee and like
and by
lemon haze and that. So
and by the way, this isn't an advertisement for it. We reached out because we wanted to check it out, see if it was something that would be decent, and they sent us a bunch of them. So we want to tell you about it. We'll probably get a promo code.
They're pretty good.
I got watermelon.
I just did one, and I still feel like it's taken away a lot of that, the dry mouth.
And the thing to think about too is that you don't want to chew this up. I'm trying the watermelon, and one thing, it's delicious. This is good, like a candy. And you think about those who take medications that make their mouth dry too, because some medications will cause dry mouth.
Oh.
This would be a great thing to be able to have because I'm taking the 100 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you right now, All the dry mouth that I had from hitting that pineapple, just a few hits, like I got dry mouth.
Yeah.
It's gone. Anyways, go down to the show notes, check out Flint Mints. Get yourself a 10. These are cool. Keep them in your pocket. Share with your friends when you go out to smoke with them. This would be great. No, you know what? I'm going to go off on a tangent. I just really like it all of a sudden. This is the first time I've been using it, and this is awesome.
Yeah, he just showed up this morning.
Yeah.
And I tried the mint ones like a day or two ago.
Which are good.
Yeah, but this is the first time he's tried them. So it's been like a new introduction, but it is such a unique experience. Even the like sour tangerine, my mouth feels cool.
Yeah, it's got a cooling sensation like a menthol, but it don't taste it.
Yeah.
Dude, that was a good hit. It's hazy as shit in here now.
I know.
That's awesome. Like, okay, let's go
I really
back.
like that second hit. That Pineapple Express. It just is like illuminating. So,
yeah, it
nice.
is. It's really nice. And what's really nice, and now I gotta tell you, we got to figure out what to do with these guys. I love this mint now, dude. This thing is awesome. Get yourself some of these, as Brandon said, dick sucking mints.
All right.
And
so you like the watermelon more or the mint one?
You know what, dude? I'm excited to try them all.
I know.
They're
really
really, really good.
It reminds me of icebreakers, the like minty ones that have the different flavors with them. You're like, here, there's like raspberry icebreaker, and you're like, oh, cool.
Well, dude, and you got to think about level of dry mouth. If you've got like super cotton mouth, where it feels like sand, you probably want to go to 250, 300.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe
and on their website, I'm sure they explain everything. Yeah, but it's so cool. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. We just went off on a tangent there, but this is really cool. It's our first time trying it. It was like, you know what? Why don't we give it a shot? Like I picked up this 8th, and I was like, man, let's smoke this.
So it's been interesting when we looked at the actual countries around the world that have legalized cannabis. It's only like a good handful. We had Canada, Germany, Georgia, Luxembourg, Malta, Mexico, South Africa, Thailand, Uruguay, like 24 states in the U.S., 3 territories, the District of Columbia, and then Australia.
Wow.
So, but only the Australian Capital Territory in Australia.
Well, you look at Australia for Australian listeners, like, what's cool about Australia is that it's so big, but a very small portion of it is actually habitable. So that's awesome that it's they're making progress over there. I know that they're striving to make more progress in other countries, and United States has a big responsibility in that. And that's why.
Oh, it says 38 states in the U.S.
38
have medical.
Have approved cannabis
legal for medical use.
Yeah. Right. And there's like 24 that are rec.
Yeah.
And rec. Well, but that number could change. I believe Ohio just came online, and that just this month, if you're listening to this in the month of April, the 1st of April, they brought the bill to voters.
You were saying Idaho?
In Florida.
Oh, Florida one.
Florida to do rec.
Oh, that'd be cool because they do have a current medical program, but if they can expand,
a shitload of dispensaries.
Yeah, and that could be good depending on who their cultivars are and where the beginning product come from.
Well, in Florida, it has the largest testing facility on the East Coast is in Florida. It is the largest testing facility. And I'm saying that based upon the evidence I found over there because it is the largest one as far as being able to put out volume of testing.
Is there a competitor in that area? Are there many competitors in that area? Is the test results from the same person across the same board? Is that one who's the largest? Are they honest? Or is it just they do the most through there? And because even like when we went through the grow here, he stated like, a lot of people will go to the ones that they know, give them the results they want.
When they were talking about California, absolutely. That's the one thing.
But I don't know Florida's.
Well, no, and that's a good point because when these states come online and the producers of cannabis, as well as testing facilities, you also have another responsibility of being able to say, okay, well, we need to set the bar high enough so it doesn't do that. Now, luckily in Utah, we don't have very many testing facilities at all for the cannabis because we don't have a ton of dispensaries. We have literally
13. Because they limit the licenses of the dispensaries, which
and it'll increase in time.
I hope, Because for those who have medical programs, this is where I look at Florida's where they're like, oh, we've got 135. I'm like, good. Because as long as you're regulated, like as long as the quality and you have a standard of quality, it doesn't matter how many dispensaries you have. It's the growers, the cultivators, and like the people who are creating your extractions and the products. Your dispensaries are just the ones selling it.
Yeah, and I like the number of dispensaries because that shows a healthy cannabis market.
Yeah.
Like that means the ability for growers. And it's like with the growers that we talk to.
From you to me, we live 30 minutes apart.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's too far, but however, in between us is 4 or 5 cities.
Yeah.
At least that we can go.
And we have what? 1, 2,
Two.
3?
2.
Just 2? So the one in
Lehigh.
And then one in
Provo.
Provo. That's it?
We have 2 dispensaries between you and me.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next closest one is Springville. So then you add in all these things and you're like, how many cities? Like, how far do people have to drive?
Does Draper have one?
They might.
Yeah.
But then you're like, how far do you have to drive to go to the pharmacy? Okay, well, for me to go to the pharmacy, then I'm 30, 40 minutes if I'm lucky.
Well, and you've got people further, like
100%.
in the middle of going down south, right? So in Cedar City, St. George area, you're going to be able to find more dispensaries down there that are a little bit closer to you. But think about all those people in between.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's a rough edge. Like when we're talking about legalization for adult use, when that's a great way to being able to look at it. But the other part is like, well, are we going to get more cowboys? Are we going to get more product being out there?
I think it depends on the growers and what regulations they have on the initial products. Like you said, it's great if we have a lot of dispensaries or pharmacies because that's just the end of store where people can purchase it.
Yeah.
As long as we have the regulations and that on the cowboys, on the farmers, on the
and we talk about testing,
products.
Right? And that's where I think, because like in California, you can get it fudged. You can go to legitimate testing one, and then they get another testing one going, well, we can change it for a price. And you know what? Whatever. That's competitiveness. That's consumerism. They're making those changes because they want to make the sale, and those other people want to get their product out there. The problem that comes with it and why it's so important, and that's why I think that it's going to be harder for regulations to be able to open up. I mean, we've got 38 states out of 50. That's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, we're 12 shy.
Yeah, that's not bad. And some of the biggest, like we'd gone through, like where it's completely illegal in the United States, like
Idaho, was it Wyoming,
Wisconsin?
Let
me pull it up.
Texas,
prohibited. North Carolina,
South Carolina,
Tennessee, and Wyoming.
Yep.
Idaho's a kind of a given, but these.
Yeah, right. But I'm surprised on some of those, and I'm like, okay, when is it? But we see that around the country or around the globe. I'm looking at this globe, and it's like, all right, here's like all of these ones where it's illegal or an unknown. It's most of the world is in a place where they look at it and they're like, oh no, it's illegal.
Yeah, but then they have selective and illegal but tolerated.
Yeah,
like you zoom in and you see those pink areas and you're like, oh, that's cool. But then in South Africa, legal but obstructed, meaning that it's too hard to enforce, so they just don't enforce it. Like they've already got other shit going on over there that's like, oh,
there's
somebody's smoking.
Like,
yeah, we're cool. No worries. And we'll put that image up on the screen sometime during the podcast where you can kind of see this kind of map of where it's legal, illegal. But again, because it's building up so much momentum, I'm really excited to see the states. Now, here's the question I want to be able to propose to you is, are you more in favor for adult use to be across the board or medical? And it's not picking one side or the other.
I know, it's tough. I look at both sides and I see the pros and the cons. Like I see value in both. Right now, I see there's tobacco already has adult use. I see alcohol has adult use. And I don't really see medical value for those.
Because children are going to be able to get their hands on those.
And they're going to use those anyway.
Right.
And yet we're looking at this as a medicine we already hold medical values and properties and selling medical like medicines on the pharmaceutical level of these chemical compounds. Like, so why don't we at least approve that and go, hey, at least it's medical. But even then it's like, okay, well, but it also is adult use. So it's an adult use. So why not give that access going, we can have adult use.
Yeah.
Because there is any parent, any adult, any person who's past a certain age can make that decision, can go, yeah, I'm going to put this in my body. I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
Because we do that all the time, but this thing is not regulated, but it is.
Yeah, and it's kind of the weird side laws that they have, or restrictions, if you will. Restriction in this state, you can't burn it, but you can vaporize it. That's just strange.
Yeah. And like, I understand it on certain levels where you're going, all right, well, then you don't get carcinogens if you don't ignite it.
Not as
Okay.
many. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
It's a
I
very
don't know if
minor
there's
amount.
proven carcinogens that come from baking it. It might in certain temperature ranges if you do it too high or
Right,
too
right.
whatever. But again,
But on average,
I'd have to look it up and see.
exactly. And then we have talked about that. We're vaporizers. Although we absolutely love our bong, it is good, but a vaporizer is more convenient.
Do you know what my favorite is to do with this?
Hmm.
I guess not my favorite, but I do like to do it sometimes.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
I
the
still like to put the
vaporizer,
vaporizer in it. And then
Yeah,
it's
with the
like the
attachment.
smoothest thing ever, because this is the most amazing bong. But if you were to utilize that with a vaporizer with it too, then it's just like, so smooth.
Yeah, and it's way more convenient. And that's where I'm thinking about, like, with these laws that are coming up, why are more states wanting to look at a medical? And a lot of it comes down to is the voters. It's the voters 100%.
Well,
so if you don't think you can make an impact, your vote actually counts.
Also, I mean, we've talked about it off and on for so long. A lot of the issues, a lot of the concerns, a lot of the things I feel like stem from fear from what everyone's been taught for so long. It's all the same mindset of like, hey, marijuana was a scary drug.
Yeah, but I even look, Idaho would be one.
Yeah. So with that, I wonder if like going into a medical program going, hey, we're not going to allow this for adults. We know that it helps with this or it helps with this, but we don't want everyone using that because we still see it as making people stupid and dumb and all of this. But if there's medical value, then maybe the people who need it for medicine can use it for that. So
well, and then
that's the door. That's opening the doorway.
But also right there, and you bring up a good point. The point is that yes, if they perceive it as being stupid, then it back down to the consumer.
Well, even you and me, when you had talked about it, you were like, hey, even sometimes I think my mind, even in the back of it, am I smoking too much? And you're like, well, is it these ideas I'm thinking of come from all of these ideas that I've been taught my whole life? Not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just so ingrained, I think, on the human, we've been taught for so long that it's like, it's really hard, even if you believe it on that. Like, how many times do I think, man, do I feel addicted? Do I feel like I'm relying on this? And like all these things that I'm like, okay,
yes.
Am I pulling these things from Dare? Am I pulling these things from like all the things that I've grown up knowing? Or is it from like, and it's fine if it is, or it's fine if it's from another one. But, it's just that understanding even you and me or someone who's been in cannabis for ages might still sometimes find that their mind might still have a pull from some old idea or theory or something that might not be what you hold on to every day, but for some reason, in a moment, you find that you're getting pulled to that. So maybe for all these people who have no understanding of it, it still is it's different.
It's an age thing too, because when you brought up the DARE program, was it successful? No, it wasn't successful. It was some politician's wet dream to make sure that they were giving what the administration at that time was proposing. They really wanted change or whatever that meant. But I honestly, it's not even the worry of DARE. Like DARE never got me there. The one thing always that it comes back to is somebody that I know got arrested and actually serving time. So I think that's where a lot of it comes from, is that, and letting go of that part where you're not going to serve time. We're talking about how these states are trying to come online. Like Florida, one of the biggest components against it is that they're like, well, underage. I mean, that's always a thing. That's a given. I think that's a generic answer. But the other part is it's DUIs or public intoxication. And again, that goes back down to the user. That's why it's so important to go low and slow and to be able to know your dose.
So on that, I want to get your thoughts on that. So say you're out, not testing a product, but like say you're out and about, and even you have a medical card. You get pulled over. Cop stops you. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're under the influence or whatever." He wants to test you. how do you feel, or do you feel there is a good way to test that? Because my dose to yours, I might have the same particulates per million in my bloodstream as you do, but yet you might feel way more intoxicated than I
Oh,
do.
totally. I think that just comes down to, you know, knowing your limit. What's the limit? Because
Well,
they're not going to
and
see a
how do they,
limit. It's just, is it in your system?
and then it's okay, well, I might metabolize really fast. So my high might not even last as long. So it might
Right.
still show up in my blood, but then they're like, well, but you have this many parts per million. Okay, but I am 100% there. There is no time distortion, no like distance distortion. There's nothing there that is manipulating how I feel.
Well, and then it comes back to what were you doing to be able to get pulled over? Right.
Exactly.
I mean, and I will say
And to
this.
make them think that you're high in the first place.
Well, I mean, think about this, dude. Like the last time I was pulled over was over 13 years ago.
Wow.
And the only reason why I was pulled over
That makes sense though.
because of my light.
I'm thinking about how you drive. That makes a lot of sense.
I'm a very conservative, very passive driver because I would rather get there alive. All I'm thinking is I'm in this machine that weighs thousands of pounds and it's going very fast. Like it's
Oh, bro.
it's
If you
gotta,
ever rode with my dad, just that's how we
I
always
know.
drove. And then Curtis. And so I feel like
I've
I'm
driven with Curtis so many
oh my
times.
God,
I'm just
terrifying.
like, yeah, terrifying.
Same
I'm
with
gonna
my
try another
dad.
one of these.
Same with my dad. Terrifies the shit out of me. But I am way mellow, like in comparison to 10, 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. I get pulled over every once in a while.
Yeah, I know. I think that's funny.
But I haven't had a ticket, I feel like, in maybe 5 years.
Last ticket I got was over 20 years ago.
Okay. But even so the last 2-3 times that I had gotten pulled over, I still had cannabis in my system. I actually feel incredibly normal. Like it's so hard for me to feel displaced that most of the time I'm okay, comfortable driving in a vehicle with cannabis in my system because it takes a ludicrous amount for me to actually feel displaced.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, there's been so many times. So every time I had gotten pulled over, there's cannabis in my system. But I talked to that police officer just fine. There was never an issue. And there was never a concern, a question, or anything of, sir, are you high? Sir, are you under the influence? Like ever. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, I know it happens to people, but I'm very curious into what were you doing?
Yeah.
What was the smell like?
It's your
Were
responsibility.
your eyes like crazy? Like, were you acting high? Was there things in your car that were making it look like you were under the influence?
Mm-hmm.
Like, officer comes up to my car. It's clean. There's nothing there. Maybe my drink in my cup holder, if that. Like, it's usually very clean. I've had way too many interactions getting pulled over in my life, getting tickets. I'm always respectful.
Well, it goes back to projection is perception, because if I emanate that I am a stoner or that I am using cannabis at the moment, like,
or if you come off afraid because
Yeah.
you're nervous going, oh crap, I'm doing something wrong. I'm nervous. I'm going to get in trouble.
yeah, let it go.
And all that happens is if I get pulled over, I go, all right, cool. Well, this is normal for me. Nothing's changing for me except for now I'm engaging with someone.
Right.
So now all I need to do is look at the situation, go, what's going on? How
Yeah.
can I help you?
Yeah, and that's the thing, honestly. And one thing I will say, I know there's a lot of racial profiling with that. I'm not going to deny that, and that's just part of the culture that will be eventually weed its way out of law enforcement. You have to remember this is decades
time.
upon decades
Yeah.
upon decades of compounding interest of these things are bad. You protect good people.
Yeah.
Put away bad people.
And then it's accounting, okay, these are bad people. And then it's perpetuated from the longest time. And you're like, okay, but they're not. Like there's bad people everywhere.
Yeah.
There's good people everywhere. And you're going to run into both. But it's not just always assuming that every person you see, whether it's, and even just like profiling of cars or motorcycles, or like, oh, this person's big and has tattoos, or that person's like yellow, green, black, purple, whatever the hell color they are. And they're looking at it and going, oh, they're different, or They're
Well, I
this.
mean, with cannabis being illegal because of, Mexicans and blacks, and then it
Yeah.
just perpetuated from there. Like, I even thought about that. Like, and I'm curious, you guys got a story. Are you of Asian descent, and you've been profiled for breaking the
Using
law?
cannabis,
Probably
right?
not. I mean, maybe in Hawaii. Just because I've been there, and yeah, I mean, it's not just the polys there, but you think about, like, wherever you're at, if you're acting a certain way, then you will get certain attention. So like I said, last time I got a ticket and it was my fault. I was falling too close and a tiny fender bender. That was my
Okay.
bad.
But there was a fender bender involved. So that's
Exactly.
also different.
That's totally different.
Yeah.
When have I ever been pulled over for speeding or any of that other stuff? And I do speed from time to time, but
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm not always vanilla when it comes to driving. All I keep thinking, I mean, after you have it's just when your responsibilities get higher in life
Yeah.
and then you get older, you start to think about, like, I used to drive like you and your brother.
Well, see, now
You're not as
I set my
intense.
cruise at like 75 and I'll just set my cruise.
But that's the thing. You don't look like somebody that we can. I mean, I will let you guys know this. Brandon has been in cuffs and in jail. I have
Many
never been.
times.
I've been in cuffs, but I usually talk my way out. But Brandon has been, and not that he
always
couldn't.
for like stupid
just-
shit.
And he's always
Really stupid shit.
Wrong place, wrong time. But even then, though, thinking about now, if you got pulled over, I don't think you would be suspicious enough going, I need to test this guy. If you're driving and you are clearly high, if I'm on a
yeah.
really strong indica, for me,
Mhm.
because some sativas put people down, it's just your endocannabinoid system. Nobody's the same. But if I am really high, I'm not driving anywhere.
No.
And that's a rarity.
Me too. But that's because I actually, like, if you feel really high, you don't want to drive.
No.
And I know that because, I mean, it's been ages since I felt that way.
Well, Pineapple Express, I could drive on this.
Oh, 100%.
This
Like, I
feels
don't feel,
great.
it was funny. I had, I went over in Tom McLean and I brought some flour. We had a couple joints. It was great. And after the couple joints, I had maybe 30, 40 minutes. I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, well, I got to head out. Got to drive back. Got to go get my kid from school.
Yeah.
It's the end of the day. And he was like, what? You're okay? And I'm like, I don't feel anything. I feel just fine. Yes, I'm okay to drive. And he's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I don't feel high. I don't have your endocannabinoid system.
And on top of that, McLean doesn't use as frequently as you or
No.
I. I consume on a decent day, I can consume like 3, maybe 4 times a day. If I'm really using, I mean, it's literally every 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm probably smoking, if not earlier than that.
See, if I'm consuming and like, because I heard, or like actually just consuming, probably like 3-4 times an hour. Yeah.
So
I would guess.
quick break again, because I'm taking these mints. So when you increase
Oh, yeah.
dosage,
Did you take 2 this time?
no, I just went up. So I took 100 on the first one, the 100 milligram, you could say. I took the 150 cherry. Yeah, I'm just thinking, because the other one, just 100, it's for slight cotton mouth. This one, a little bit more. And I started getting more cotton mouth than I started to click. And I know the audience absolutely hates it. So give the cherry a try, or even like the higher dose ones, because that's
Bro,
really
I'm going
good.
to try the cinnamon. It's 300.
Yeah, do it, because
Cinnamon ginger? What?
Ooh, dude, that sounds great.
Whoa.
That sounds delicious. Listen to us stoners. But see, that's the thing, like, and for law enforcement that listens to this, I guarantee I hope some DEA agents listen to this. But
Well,
I'm wondering what your judgment is on it now, knowing what you know, or are you still of the old school going, yeah, I smoke it, but it's bad, so I got to bust it.
So on that, I'm very curious, because I feel like there should be to test someone behind the wheel, even ahead of time, of going like,
Yeah, but it's so hard to
I
know, right?
but it's like, I wish you could find someone's dose of like, hey, where is it? Even with like a simulator or something, because I would be curious to simulate or test with highway patrolmen. I would go sit with cops. I will go drive with you guys.
Didn't they do a test here in Utah?
No, but
That
they
was
did
on alcohol.
They did test.
They've done that everywhere.
They did one that I watched with joints and highway patrol in another state. And what they had done is basically
The
They
smoke
had
a joint.
a couple joints. So basically, there was a
Oh my
medical
God.
user. There was like a person who used maybe like once a month or something like that, maybe once a day, and then someone who like never used. And every person was basically fine to drive until they had almost smoked an entire gram.
Jeez, that's a lot.
Yeah, I think, and so at
I
that
mean, for me,
point,
that's a lot.
but it was like even response times and things, they felt okay. And the testing response times were fine.
Yeah,
The only one who was more medical use was like, yeah, no, they didn't really see much of a delay at all.
that's crazy.
But that's because they medically use it all the time. It's a different dose. It's a different interaction than someone who's like, I socially use this. I recreationally use this. I adult use this with friends once a month. Like, very different.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that now with 38 states having the ability to be able to consume cannabis, either medically or recreationally, I think the rec side is a lot more than just the medical side. I do like it that more states are coming on rec, but at the same time, I just think that the regulations need to be more strict. I think we need to be looking to our neighbors to the north because they are very strict on it, and they have a lot of high quality products, like Canadians that I know, and they're just like, dude, some of the best weed is out here, and that's like, okay, cool, but
They've
West
had it
Coast,
legal for a while.
but
Yeah.
even then, though, I mean, cannabis has been grown in California forever.
But we have no regulation.
Yeah,
That's our problem, is we don't have across the board regulation on anything. And even in California, we found shitty ass products.
oh, bad products.
And there's products that, we've seen in the news and stuff that have gotten, called back, or people having issues in that. So
Yeah.
we just don't have the regulation. But like you said, look to the neighbors to the north, and
Yeah, what are they doing so well? Because they've pretty much decriminalized it
Mhm.
in many aspects. So it's not taboo or anything like that. You can't tell me that, the rates of violent acts, like, because that's what it's typically assumed it's going to be. Like back in the day, the assumptions were there was going to be more lawlessness, there was going to be more
Is that
vandalism and
still what's
robbery.
tied to it, though?
I
Because
don't
I feel
think
like,
so. I don't think so, but I think it's just because of the past perception that it's a hard transition for people to make, for those
yeah,
who have been against it, because
100%.
it's almost the same thing with smoking cigarettes. For me, I demonize cigarettes because I smoked them. They did no good for me.
Well, I don't know anyone who it does good for.
Well, I know that tobacco in certain
Yeah,
medicinal ways is good,
but
but
most people aren't smoking just tobacco.
no,
So
they're full on. I mean, and that's why that smoking cannabis cannot be placed in the same bucket. Yes, it is carcinogens that are going into your
if you
system.
ignite, if you
Yeah.
burn it, yeah.
If you burn it, but with vaporizers and new vaporizers coming online all the time, even Dragonfly was saying that they're building out a new one.
Yeah, their own
So
model.
yeah, Utah
And it's
guys,
going to be like $50-$60. So
yeah,
we'll have to
around
check
that,
it out.
super affordable for a vaporizer. That's affordable.
Yeah.
That's
We'll
insane.
let you guys know when that comes out, and I'll have to show it off.
People, let us know about what's going on in your state. What are the things that you're seeing? Are you seeing a gradual progression as the perception of cannabis is being less and less of a bad thing and just being accepted as normal? I look at it as the same way it should be, where people go to their grocery store and buy a case of beer.
Yeah.
I'm
100%.
buying a brand. I'm buying the flavor. I'm buying the feel. The only thing that I'm more for is that if you smoke too much, you're just going to pass out. If you drink too much, you're probably going to do some real stupid shit.
Yeah. Or you might kill yourself from
Alcohol poisoning.
alcohol poisoning. Yeah.
Right?
Versus falling asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously. Or just getting super paranoid, and either you go to the ER or you tough it out, or you're smart because you listen to this podcast
And you take some CBD and
and
drink some lemon juice.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, do that. And you'll start to see a lot more,
It's
problems
surprising.
go away.
Even Dragonfly, I was up there, and the pharmacist, bud tender that was there, didn't know about drinking lemon juice.
Most people don't.
And I was like, bro, because I was talking to him and I was like, oh, have you tried this strain? He's like, no, it really makes me anxious. And I don't like that. So I try and stick towards these ones. I was like, oh, well, if you ever notice that you are feeling that, do you ever use CBD? And he's like, no. And I was like, well, CBD is good, but if you have lemon juice, it'll bring down like the heart palpitations and that
Mhm.
anxious feeling that you get.
And it'll lessen your high a little
I'm like,
bit.
but it's almost instantaneous.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so it's within like 5 to 20 seconds that you're almost feeling a difference, a
Mhm.
noticeable difference. He's
Exactly.
like, what? I have to try that tonight. I'm like, you should.
In that, because that type of education isn't out there, and it's just through trial and error. It's how I experimented so much of myself, and because I would get too high sometimes. Smoking with you,
Oh,
I would
yeah.
get too high
What?
because I'm just
Yeah.
trying to keep up.
Don't do that.
Well, no, I mean, I've learned my lesson. I don't do that anymore. I know where my limit
I was
is.
telling everyone at home.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Maybe one day we'll have. Oh, we'll go live.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, we'll
we'll do
going
a
live.
smoke off for those who actually want to keep up, and then, we'll see who can keep
Oh,
up.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be way cool. We should do a smoke off. We'll do some content around that. That'd be hilarious.
One of my other cousins, she was like, when we talked about doing the smoke off, she was like, cool. Well, how do you want to start? And I was like, well, we could start with edibles and then maybe some dabs and then, I don't know, smoke some joints or something. And I was like, what dose of edible do you want? And she was like, well, if we're doing the same to see who grains out first, then maybe I should do
0.5.
yours. And I was like, well, I just fuck around at 200 and I don't feel it. So do you want me to start you at 200? And she was like, oh, fuck. I mean, I guess that's what we're doing. But yeah, I guess so. We still have yet to record that, but.
Oh my God. No way. No way. It's too much. Yeah, it would be intense. I couldn't do that. Like, I could do a smoke off and I'd probably get, I mean, if it was with this, if it was this, like right now, I feel pretty good on it.
Pineapple's nice.
It's really nice. Dude, Betty.
I don't
Betty
feel heart
brand.
palpitations.
Not at all.
I feel like a little bit relaxed, but not
too relaxed.
Not heavy. No.
But it's weird. It's heavy on my eyes a little bit, but I'm very awake. So I know my blood vessels in my eyes are really opened up. They're so relaxed.
I feel that. My eyelids feel a little heavy,
Mm-hmm.
but not like I don't feel tired at all.
No, it's good.
Just like I have weights almost on my eyelids.
Yeah, see, for those states that are not, and I know that you're listening in states that it's illegal, and
countries it's illegal.
Yeah, and you know what? It's because of these moments that we get to be able to enjoy. Like Brandon and I mean, we meet every week to be able to create these episodes, but we get to consume cannabis together, and there's a union behind that. And I want more people to feel closer to one another, as opposed to just being able to say, well, it is what it is.
Oh, and honestly, for those who do partake, and well, if you're nervous about partaking with others, it's actually super enjoyable. If you can find a strain, that one's really good, the sour tangerine. If you can find a strain that doesn't make you crazy paranoid, like if that's something you're into, like if that happens that you get really paranoid, find a good mellow strain.
Yeah. Find
some friends. Social smoking, like having a session together, is one of the most enjoyable things you can do.
I think so. And, for those that are listening over there, stay safe. If you're in an illegal place, I know you already are, but don't get too paranoid about it. But we're glad that you're partaking, and continue to just put this cannabis in a positive light. It's up to you to put this in a positive light. It's not the lawmakers. The reason why it's legal in our state, which is an ultra conservative state, but it shifts a little bit here and there now, more than it ever has, but it's because over 70% of the population wanted it. So,
well, it's because people like me, people like you went around and got signatures from people all over the state going, hey,
would you be cool with this?
Yeah, would you be okay? We're trying to get medical cannabis for patients in the state here. And we went around and got enough signatures to get it on a ballot to That's insane. We want this here in Utah.
Yeah. And that means if Utah can do it, that means Idaho can do it.
Texas can do it.
Wisconsin
Wyoming can do it.
Yeah. Everybody
South Carolina can do it. Yeah. All of the countries around the world. Well, I don't know what you get as far as
I know that Germany has been able to do some new laws where you can grow your own and you can consume. You just can't openly consume like in public.
I mean, that makes sense. There's a lot of places that open consumption isn't big because it's the same with alcohol.
And if you're going to consume in public, that's where you got your carts.
Yeah.
Carts are less smell, less suspicious, and it's cool. It's not as best as flour, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, it'll still do the job sometimes. And if you're in a pinch or if you really hurt or whatever it is, yeah, the pen will do.
And if you are lawmakers over there and you're listening to this and you're thinking, why would I want cannabis in my state? Look at the technology that's been developed over the last 4 years. And you can see this amazing progression just in the last 2 years alone. They have been able to create some amazing cannabis related products.
I think the thing is, and this is the hard realization maybe for most politicians or people sitting behind that anyway, is cannabis is in your state. Cannabis is in your country.
Oh, yeah.
The only difference is, do you want to have it regulated and have quality products, or do you want to have it black market and legacy products?
Yeah, that's the one thing, and I will end on saying this, is that in Florida, one of their biggest issues over there is that if it's not legalized, and this is the pro side, I actually talked against it, but on the pro side, what they're really trying to make sure is that black market cannabis is not getting into the hands. I feel bad for those border states because they're still getting Mexican swag, nasty weed, right? And it's not all bad in Mexico. I'm going to say that. There's some probably great cannabis out there.
Is.
But when they're grown the way they are grown, outside, just tossed out, barely
not the
watering,
same level of quality.
And they have levels of fentanyl in it. And I think that's a personal choice. I mean, maybe people get it dosed. I don't know. If you've had somebody die from fentanyl, I'm so sorry. That sucks. And if cannabis was involved in it, this is the biggest reason why when you have legal cannabis to consume,
you can have regulated quality products that don't have anything like that.
Why would you? I mean, it's not like I'm going to some random dude buying chicken and steak from him. Yeah. Like, hey, do you have these on there? Like, no, I'm going to go get it from somewhere that really has to be able to look at it. I mean, I know conspiracy and facts, food systems fucked up, but regardless, it's almost the same thing. Like, I at least know that there's some regulatory process that makes sure that I get the highest quality, which makes it, I don't want to consume garbage, homegrown crap that really, I don't know what they did. If you grew it, I would smoke it because I know how much love, care, and attention you give it. And you have tons of plants around your house and you keep those things well and alive. I know that those things would be even better with you. And so would I buy from Brandon as a plug? Fuck yeah.
I don't know if I would grow my own to sell as a
more on the personal side.
100%. If I ever got to that point, I would grow it because I thought about how many tinctures and edibles. Like, I could justify making, 1 gram edibles. Like, I could have 1,000 milligrams a day and never blink an eye. And it wouldn't matter because I would be able to grow all my own product.
Yeah. And that would be cool. And
when I look at cost effectiveness for me to go buy that much product to go through 1,000 milligrams in a day, I'm like, I can't justify spending that much. I don't feel like that makes sense to me. But for my medical use, like, if I do that, I have way less pain. Like, I feel so much better, but it's like an insane amount of product to go through.
Yeah. And again, that's on us as the voters in these states. I mean, when it comes to like the president and stuff like that, like, it's really hard to say if your vote really counts. But when it comes to these laws that are local for you on a federal level, yes, it's illegal. But when we have more states come on board, that's when we're going to start seeing
38 out of 50.
Exactly.
Like, what is the federal government going to do?
At that point, they really can't do anything. And that's where we can probably see decriminalization across the board, because instead of passing laws, just say, look, increase the tax like you do on alcohol and tobacco,
even gas.
Yeah.
Like, all of these things have it. And then I look at it and go, Colorado, all of these states who have put in taxable funding, granted, Colorado's taxes fucking insane. It's like 23 or 26%.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
So high. But if they could have a normal margin of tax and still have that, they could still make ludicrous amounts for for the government, for that actual state itself. That can go to schools, that can go to infrastructure, that can go to all sorts of growth and development.
Yeah, and you have happier citizens.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, you could take away death overdoses because you do take away people on pain meds. You take pain medication users, and a lot of them can utilize cannabis. And even to be able to detox and get off of that. I know many people that have used cannabis to get off of drugs, get off of alcohol. And
it's been a real lifesaver for him. Will it be a cure all for everything? Absolutely
No.
not. Will
But
it
there's a
help out
good
with your
amount
yeah.
that it can still help with.
Well, and the cool thing is that you can continue to try different strains as opposed to taking different medications that you got to hope and pray that
Yeah.
the side effects don't outweigh the effectiveness.
Yeah.
But with cannabis, you don't have to worry
Well,
about
you
that.
think about it. Okay, so say you went and got a few different strains.
Yeah.
If you have a negative side effect from a medication, how long do you have to take that medication to see if that side effect goes away before they switch you to another one?
Or before you have to go to the ER.
Yeah. But like how it's not usually instantaneous.
No.
But if you smoke something and you're like, yeah, this one makes me anxious. Cool. You take some lemon juice and you don't smoke that one, you go smoke a different one.
Yeah, and get a small amount.
And then it can instantly change that experience. And you go, oh, cool, I like that one. Well, now you're not having to take a bunch more medication, having to go call your doctor and go, hey, I need to find a different one because this gives me this. Well, we're gonna try one. It might be a few weeks of you trying it to see how it goes.
Yeah.
Versus like you use it once and go, oh, that felt weird. I didn't like that.
Well, and that's one of the things that I really liked about Select, is their little
third of a gram. Yeah.
pens, because it's a great way to test it and not to get really financially involved. Like it's $20 to get one of those, and that's great, and you can test it, and that's
Or
a
if
great
you're
gateway.
Out in like states where you can buy flour by the gram,
Yeah.
you can get that so cheap sometimes. And so you could buy a gram of a ton of different strains because if you're new, a gram will still be a while
I remember that,
lasting
like
you.
teeny tiny little bags, and
Yeah.
it's just a gram of flour.
Yeah, like here's a nug of this, here's a nug of this, and that would last you for ages because it's like, oh
Yeah.
shit, what?
Yeah, it's like those tubes that I have. Like I have to
Mhm.
fill up my tubes more often now. But it's exactly that. It goes back to you. It's all on your responsibility. If you want it legalized more places, be that example so that they want to pass more laws.
Don't show up as the stoner. They're like, oh, hey, I'm like, I can't function, I can't talk, I can't enunciate, or like put out a coherent sentence.
Yeah.
If you really want to show that cannabis is something you want out there, don't be like, hey, I'm rooting for alcohol and I'm going to show up shit-faced drunk. Make alcohol illegal. No, show up as a decent human being that they look at and go, okay, this person showing up saying they want cannabis?
Yeah.
Okay, well, now it's not the alcoholic who's staggering with his beer, spilling it, going, like alcohol. Like,
I haven't met too many of those.
Me
But
either.
I've seen them.
That's the image of what we portray in some
Yeah.
of it when we show up going, make this, it's this. And it's like, okay, what are you pushing out? Like, it's great that you want it legal. What's your energy you're putting out? What do people see? Do you not see what you're putting out? You're going, this is what I want. Okay, well, why?
Yeah.
Is this how it makes you?
Makes sense. Because
that's all they're going to see.
Well, and then the perception, the projection is perception. So if you're putting it out there, then that is the perceived thing. And then that turns into what they think. That perception is actual truth. And we've got to break that as individuals. So continue to do that.
I'm thinking about it here when we had cannabis going through and getting legalized in Utah. There was one of the people who had been petitioning, trying to get it to go through here. And she was up in front of the board or like in front of like the house, all of the Utah people. And she said like, fuck. Because she was pissed and she like swore at him. And I was like, I understand that you're frustrated.
Yeah, it's not the way
it's the same as like watching Trump and Biden have their little stupid arguments. And I'm like, okay, there's no real work getting done here. There's no real discussion. Like nothing's happening. It's like they just show up and start throwing shit at each other. And it's like, all right, let's have a real discussion though. Let's step back from shit flinging and just talk. Because when you get so emotionally attached and you're flinging shit, nothing's happening. No one's getting anywhere. You're just standing there all covered in shit and going, oh, no, I'm mad. Okay, cool. Well, like, and that's usually what we see when like political debates and that now, I feel like. It hasn't turned into like any progressive thing that happens, any like real valuable movement in the discussion. It's just like flinging shit because everyone's mad.
A lot of people just want to be right. And that's hard. And so instead of being right, what's good? How can we create good for everybody? instead of
And
just thinking about
listen,
ourselves.
because maybe honestly, there's got to be both sides have their point.
Of course.
But it's if that person's making that point, what is their point? And is the person on the other side, are they even hearing them? Or are they listening? Like, is it waiting for them to stop talking and then steamrolling them with whatever point?
Right.
They're not actually listening or hearing that other side or the objection or whatever it is. It's just wait for it, steamroll you. Like, and it's like, all right, it's the most disappointing display of like anything, education,
Yeah.
humanity. Like, it is really disappointing to watch any of those. And I think, especially with approach for anything that people are passionate about. Passion is great.
Yeah.
Passion is fantastic. That's where beautiful art and all these things come from. That's where music comes from. Like, that's where so much in life comes from. But if you have too much passion in moments, like, I feel like
I think there's a line that's no longer passion. It becomes
an obsession.
Yeah, an obsession. And obsession can be good in many ways, but when it comes to the perception of cannabis and how we can be able to create better ideas, just like you said, like when she was mad and she said, fuck, all she was doing was throwing a fit. And, there's a time and place for that. But when you're trying to be able to get people to see your side, you can't attack them, as you just stated.
Can't
right?
show up like that.
Yeah, you can't attack if you're trying to be able to get a point across. Your job is to motivate and inspire them to be able to look at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
So think how you're showing
And you're not
up.
going to be motivational or inspirational if you're yelling at them and swearing at them.
And that's the way that you're able to move the needle. It took like what, 4 years, 3 or 4 years for cannabis to get legalized in this state.
Yeah, I think it was 2016 when we were polling, getting signatures, and probably about 2020 by the time the program was out.
Yeah, it was a while, but I mean, now it's doing well. It continues to grow. It still has some negative stipulations from those other people, and the way to be able to do it is not necessarily slap them in the head going, you need to see all of the evidence, because the evidence doesn't sway people. You can give them speeds and feeds and they're just going to go, but that's your perspective. That's, like what we discussed about, with the head of the precursor to the DEA, like, he took
Henry Anslinger.
Yeah, Anslinger, where he's just like, yeah, your evidence is not my evidence, and that's why I'm going to discount it. But the more of us are asking for cannabis, they weren't then, because it wasn't seen as big thing.
Yeah,
People
didn't understand it because it wasn't cannabis, it was marijuana. And marijuana wasn't over-counter medications for the longest time.
No.
So marijuana was this new scary thing that all of a sudden jumped in. So it's like now introducing cannabis again, going, cannabis has been medicine for so long.
Yeah, and it continues to be. So, yeah.
Hey, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, appreciate our Patreon supporters. You guys help us get this show keep going. For those who are listening in, share it. So get other people to listen to it. Get their minds open to cannabis.
Yeah.
And see that it doesn't always have to be a bunch of stoners having fun and just talking about stupid shit. Like, that's fun, but I can't do it too much.
Right. And if you guys have episode ideas for the Sesh or for Cannabis 101s, shoot them over. Shoot them an email or go below on Spotify to the Q&A and drop it below.
Yeah. All right, guys. Take care.